This is once you see this, you'll see competitive games differently. I don't know how I currently see competitive games. I think the current state of competitive games, especially games like League of Legends and Valorant, are kind of bad. Like, I think that their matchmaking systems are kind of predatory, and they're kind of forcing their players to be addicted to their game and play more rather than actually being an effective means of progression through the game. But let's not talk about my cynical point of view. Let's see what this video can teach us.
You know what's kind of weird? When someone asks what kind of games do you like, most people struggle to answer.
Geometry Dash! Geometry Dash! That's you, chat. That's what you sound like. Geometry Dash and nothing else!
You say tactical shooters, and they
I'm a little aggressive today.
respond,
I'll calm down.
oh, so you must like Counter-Strike, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege. And you say, actually only Counter-Strike. You say strategy games, and someone recommends you Civilization, when you wanted something more like Hearthstone. Game genres are kind of broken. But I think there's a better way to think about this. And it's a much simpler way to look at games. And once you see it, you'll see games much more differently.
I see every game as the same. I see every game as just like, it's a game that has a gameplay loop. And whenever I play a new game, I like to try and see the similarities between any game, irregardless of genre. I'm very fluid in that regard. So fluid you could drink me.
But let's start somewhere everyone can agree. Every game has something that separates the good players from the bad ones. Sometimes it's pure skill. Your reflexes, your aim, your timing. Sometimes it's information.
Dude, I hit that human benchmark reaction time thing one time. I swear to God, I got sub 100 MS.
Knowing things the other person doesn't.
It took a lot of attempts.
Sometimes it's something harder to name. The mental side. Reading people, managing randomness, and adapting on the fly. These aren't just different skills, they are fundamentally different kinds of gameplay. And most games mix them together in different amounts.
Yeah, it's a good point because, like, for example, guys, we're a Geometry Dash channel, okay? Well, let's just accept it at this point. For example, when playing Geometry Dash, you never have to think about, like, what the spike's gonna do, because the spike doesn't have autonomy. It's just, like, an obstacle that's on the map. But when you're playing Counter-Strike, you have to worry about, like, where the enemy is going to be, because it's another player. You have to worry about the guy on your team who's probably gonna slur pretty soon. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna report? Are you gonna mute? What are you gonna do? You have to make that choice, because if you do nothing, you're complicit.
So let me give you 3 words. Micro, meso,
But spikes never have a slur warning or like a slur level.
macro. Now here's where it gets interesting, and a little uncomfortable. What if I told you the clearest way to understand what a game is actually testing is to think about how you...
I think every game is problem solving. I think every game introduces either one problem or many problems, and it is the player's responsibility to solve those problems.
cheat in it. If you wanted to completely break a game to make it trivially easy, what cheat would you use?
I mean, the cheat would be whatever is like the win scenario. I would just make it like the cheat would just be like enable like immediately jumping to the victory screen. Like, yeah, like some people will say no clip. I would just say like change the flag that is like is victory from false to true. Like that's it.
Answer to that question tells you more about a game than any genre label ever could. So let's put this to the test. What is micro? Micro is the execution layer. It's your aim, your timing, your movement, your muscle memory. An example of a micro cheat,
Basically a mechanical skill, right?
looks like an aimbot. Perfect inputs every single
Like in GD, wave spam is micro, yeah?
time. If a game can be broken by perfect execution, that's a micro game. Osu, Geometry Dash, Aim Trainers, and Tetris
Oh my god, guys, we got a shout out in the video we're reacting to! Wow!
Conics reference?
are a few examples. You can cheat in Osu with perfect cursor tracking. You can cheat in Geometry Dash with perfect jumps. These are execution cheats, and you can feel the microness when you play them.
I wonder if he's going to talk about my micro.
Meso is the probability layer, the place where mind games exist.
Oh, this is interesting. I've never heard about the meso layer. I'm actually going to pay attention to this.
Reacting to the unpredictable nature of people, not
This would be like fighting games, no?
mechanics. A meso cheat looks like stream sniping. knowing someone's habits before they show them, reading cooldowns, seeing things you shouldn't see yet. The best example for the purest Mezzo game is rock, paper, scissors. There's zero
and fighting games have been referred to as like a little more active, a little more complicated rock, paper, scissors chat. Yeah, that makes sense.
execution skill. It's entirely mental and probability. Among Us
So stalking, I think it's less about stalking and more like you're working off of information the player has that benefits you, right? So like when you screen look, it's like that's information you shouldn't have that the player does have. So if you have the other player's information, or like looking at their hand if you're playing cards together, right?
also runs on Meso. So does Liar's Bar. Even the stock market is built
Yeah, like in Among Us, if you just looked at your friend's screen and you saw that they had like the imposter and big red letters, like it just kind of, it breaks the game fundamentally, right?
around this layer. If you wanted to cheat in Among Us, you'd stream snipe to know who the imposter is. If you wanted to cheat in stocks,
Not pre-watch,
you'd
by the way.
insider trade. Notice how none of these cheats involve executing anything better. They involve knowing something you shouldn't. Macro is the system's layer.
I have heard of macro.
It's your routing, your resource management, and your win condition. You can think of it like
If micro is aim, chat, macro is brain. Have you heard of this? All aim, no brain. Some players only know how to aim in games. Like, for example, if you talk about competitive shooters like Valorant, like there are some players that are so good at clicking heads, but they don't understand how to execute like a good play, like mid-round.
the mathematically correct way of winning the game. A macro cheat looks like a chess engine, economy automation.
I love chess, bro.
Or you can imagine like a perfect coach telling you exactly what to do.
Darren, ping it, ping it, ping it. We need to let our team.
Have people been talking about this? I've been watching a bit of like Dantes like helping Jinxie, and part of me is just like Jinxie's like he's in like all these ranked matches, and it does feel like a bit of an unfair advantage to have like Dantes coaching him like in the middle of the game. I don't think it's that deep, but it was something where I was like, I feel like people on Twitter are probably mad about this.
You know what's up?
Pure macro games are almost mathematical puzzles. Think Factorio, Polybridge, Connect 4, Tic-Tac-Toe. Once you find the optimal solution, the game is solved.
Or Sudoku.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Most games aren't just one of these. They're combinations.
Better than Smurfs ruining the game. I do think that there's a difference between like someone who genuinely has an unfair amount of experience jumping into lobbies where they're greatly above the current other players in the lobby's skill range versus someone at the level just getting like live coached. I do think there's a difference there for sure. I personally think it's fine. Like, I think it's fine if people queue up ranked and like they're getting coached during it. Just because like even if like you watch like the Jinxie streams where he's getting help from Dantes, like it's a coin flip whether he's even going to listen to Dantes. Even though Dantes obviously is always right, like sometimes Jinxie just won't listen to him. And that's part of like being a player of like that actual skill range versus like a Smurf. They always will know like the better decision to make versus the other players in their lobby because they just have that competitive advantage inherently.
Of them. And the combination tells you everything about what kind of game it is. So let's look at micro plus macro. These tend to be single-player precision games.
Dude, he is referencing every single video game that I play.
You need to know the optimal solution and execute it fast. Think
He had the opportunity to do something really funny by showing like some sus like anime visual novel game, and then I'd just be like, oh, accept that one. But he did not do that, unfortunately, in the editing process. And that's a miss.
Rubik's Cube speedrunning, Mario 64, Jump King, and Getting Over It. If you were to have a perfect micro cheat in Elden Ring, you'd have perfect dodges. But if you were to have a perfect macro cheat, you'd use the mathematically optimal build. But there's one weird...
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's basically how people just look up builds when they play Souls games, which, by the way, self-report, I do that. I am not nearly nerdy enough to try and, like, figure out how to optimize, like, builds when I play an RPG game. Almost every time I play an RPG game, I will just, I'll look up someone telling me where to allocate my skill points, where to allocate my attributes, all that stuff. Like, I just don't want to think about that stuff. I just want to play the game.
Multiplayer outlier here. 8-ball pool. There's a mathematically optimal shot, and then there's the skill of actually hitting it. So even though it is player versus player, the room for mind games doesn't really exist. And I think it's a rare exception. Next, let's look at Micro plus Mezzo. This is PvP skill expression games. These tend to be your fighting games. Street Fighter,
That makes
Tekken,
sense.
Smash Bros, Brawlhalla. Your skill matters, and reading your opponents matters. But also you have some other examples like Mario Kart,
Mario
like
Kart.
the micro of driving, and the meso of random items and unpredictable opponents. We even see some unique games like Tetris 99. The original Tetris is pure micro, but Tetris 99 also involves meso,
Right.
because now you're managing who to send the garbage to. You also have physics-based PvP, like Fall Guys and Gang Beasts, which also fits into micro plus meso. The next one is meso plus macro. These are the mind and math games. Think Hearthstone, TFT, Pokemon
Dude, this video is making me realize how many games I play. I've played like most of the games in this video. Am I a nerd?
VGC, and Battleship. Now, chess is theoretically a pure macro game, but at the human level, there's a massive meso component. You're optimizing for your specific opponent's habits. That's why studying opponent matters in high-level chess. And then there are some weird outliers. Balatro is a single-player game, but it's also meso-macro because the RNG of the card combines with the math of maximizing your hand. You're not executing anything difficult, but you have to pick and choose your cards wisely, and play to their biggest strength.
Dude, that's one of my favorite parts about playing games. I love when a game makes me decide, bro. I love that tension of like, oh no, is this the right choice? That's how you know a game has you hooked by the balls, bro. When it makes you feel so invested that you care enough about making the right decision without messing up. Oh, God, it's so good.
Phasmophobia is also a weird game that
That's probably why STS2 might be GOATY, bro.
fits into meso-macro. It's a co-op game, but it fits here because you're deducing a ghost using evidence, which is macro, while the ghost behavior has RNG, meso. Although I suspect non-PvP meso
Should I play more scary games, chat? I always ask this.
macro games slowly converge towards pure macro over
It's
time.
scary.
Once players fully map the RNG, it stops feeling uncertain and becomes a speedrun problem. And then there's the middle, all three overlapping.
We'll do some
This
scary
is where
variety.
the biggest competitive games live. League of Legends,
GD is scary. It is for me, bro. Every day I wake up screaming because I dreamt of it. I dreamt of Bloodbath.
Dota 2, CS2, Valorant, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Rocket League, Apex, Rainbow Six, World of Warcraft. But here's the thing, they're not all the same balance.
No.
And the cheat test tells you how exactly they differ. So let's
Well, that makes sense too. Like, I do think that if we boil it down to micro, meso, and macro, there probably is a perfect balance. Like, maybe if we think less about the aesthetics of any given game, like maybe each of us as gamers at our core, again, this is purely speculative, but maybe if we each have these invisible bars, there are like inherent like parts to these games. Like, if you ever play a game that has the perfect amount of micro, meso, and macro for you as a player, that's probably the kind of game that you get addicted to the most. That's probably the game that you end up grinding the most, right? I want to get Kira's, or like the freaking, the Shinigami eyes from Death Note, but instead I can just see above people's heads their micro, meso, and macro bars, so I can judge them and potentially do bad things with the information, like sell it to big companies. So that they can build games around it. Thoughts?
use Counter-Strike as an example. Can
I wake up screaming because of TJ? As well, you should.
aimbot win a game of CS completely alone? Almost certainly yes. If you never miss, most duels are over before they start. That makes micro extremely high in CS2. But what about X-Ray, seeing through walls? Pros have done experiments with one player with X-Ray versus 5 without X-Ray. The 5 still usually win, but the X
Well, I think the most valuable thing about X-Ray is having the information, right? If you're able to communicate that information to your team and play around it, that has to help you,
Ray
right?
player takes rounds they have no business taking. This makes Meso very high in CS2 too, which means macro, the strategic
Yeah, because chat, if you haven't played competitive shooters, information is everything in those games. That's why like characters like Sova and Valorant are so good, because they just have so many tools in like their utility kit to like gather information about where the other players are. Like if you just immediately remove this aspect to like a competitive shooter and you just know where every other player is, you can just always make the right decision every single time. Because a lot of it's kind of like it's kind of like hedging your bets the best way, right? Like if you look at 3 different lanes, if you think they're all going to be one certain way, you might hedge like the 5 players you have. You might have all the players play a specific way based on where you think they are or aren't. So if you just take that aspect away, it's like it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the game. It's because to me, competitive shooters are all about it's a strategy game, but based off of limited information and assumptions that you have to make. It's like Sun Tzu's Art of War, bro.
Strategic layer is relatively the lowest. CS isn't about long-term economy optimization the way MOBAs are. The rounds are short and the execution is everything. But let's try this test with Overwatch, and right away we see a unique case, because the answer actually depends on your role. But since it varies so heavily by character and roles, I decided to ask someone who knows about Overwatch way better than I do.
Who?
So if you compare all 3
Bummer.
like maxed out versions of the perfect version of it, like a cheat.
I love Overwatch. I played a lot of Overwatch 1 back in the day, chat. Like back, what was it, 2015? That used to be the main game that me and my friends would grind. I haven't played it recently, but I did really like it back in the day.
Version of it, which one would have like the highest win rate and how would the distribution be?
I think the issue I have though, chat, with games like Overwatch and Marvel Rivals is I feel like, and maybe it's because I'm mad because bad and I never got that good at them, it feels like the individual autonomy that you have as a player to be able to hard carry a game that you otherwise have no business winning is much lower than other games like even League, but especially like competitive shooters like Valorant or like CS2. Like the things I like about Valorant or CS2 is like, as one player, you can actually get a lot done if you are good enough. It feels like there's a cap in these other games, and I could be wrong. Again, maybe some of you are super cracked at Overwatch and you don't believe me here. But for the level that I was at, it feels like you need to be insurmountably good in order to like hard carry your team, right? Like if your team is useless in Overwatch, you're kind of like as strong as your weakest link.
I would just say support is more macro heavy, DPS is more micro heavy, and then tank is more meso heavy.
Oh, okay.
Also, the way that it works is you have offense, defense, and control.
Yep.
Control refers to like map control. Offense refers to offensive options. Defense refers to defensive options. And if you a character's mixture or like kind of design links to this concept of offense, defense, and control. Tanks tend to depend on more control. Supports more defense. DPS more offense. And if you actually like dissect each individual hero,
Thanks for the $2, Liam.
they will have different like varying levels or varying focuses on offense, defense, or control.
So I'm thinking about it like this, right? If you were to give each role one cheat, you would give aimbot to DPS, and for tank, you would give the ability to see enemy cooldowns as a perfect cheat, right? And for supports, you would have a coach or an engine, perfect coach.
Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly perfect. And also, especially in Overwatch, because it's 5v5, because you only have one tank. Like, if you can win every duel as a tank, that's kind of like a free win for your team.
But what about Apex? Apex sits remarkably balanced across all 3. If you think about which player is most likely to win...
I played a bit of Apex Legends. I think I was just... genuinely, that was a mad cause bad situation. I could never get my bearings on that game. I only played like maybe 100 hours at most, but I was just bad at that game, bro.
A guy with perfect aimbot,
that
a
game's
guy
tough.
with perfect wall hacks, or a guy with perfect ring knowledge. All 3 actually has a pretty good chance of winning the game. If you have aimbot, you can easily kill anyone rotating, but any close range fight will tend to go either way. But with perfect wall hacks, you can use your nades and abilities to take a team down, but you'll still lose to someone with good ring positioning. But even with perfect ring information, you could still easily die to someone who wants to contest that position. But let's test this in a really unique game. Rocket League. I asked Pro Rocket League coach Luke on his answer to this.
Would you say Geometry Dash is competitive? Yes, and even the fact that it was referenced in the micro section of the video, I think that games, like even single player games, can be competitive. For example, especially like the second you have any kind of leaderboard, Super Mario 64 speedrunning is a good example. Like, there are ways to still make single player games competitive. I think Geometry Dash has found that with like new top levels being verified, obviously with Pointer Crate and being able to grind points from beating top levels, etc., etc. Yes, I would say it's competitive. Is it like competitive in the sense of what we've talked about in a lot of this video, like team-based matchmaking and that kind of thing? Obviously, no. But I mean, it's the same way like on chess.com, you can queue up and go up in elo, right? It's just it's more of like a single player experience. Well, you know, and I know chess is even like head to head, but you know what I'm saying, where it's like it's resting on your own laurels versus like being able to work with other people.
Thought experiment. And this was his response. Basically,
And I think the cool thing about games like GD and again like speedrunning categories is a lot of the competition comes from the intrinsic motivation that an individual has versus like I feel like games that are more out of the box advertised as being like competitive team-based games. I feel like you still need that, but it's less of like the main factor that like the only person who's going to grind to be a top GD player is the kind of person who like cares about the leaderboard of it all versus like the kind of person who grinds Valorant is just someone who plays Valorant, right? Like by playing Valorant, it's baked into the game that you're trying to like basically climb up the leaderboard if you're playing ranked. Yeah, I guess there's also casual players in that. Maybe I'm waffling here. Like I guess I've never viewed those games that way of like, hey, I'm just gonna like kind of play the game just to play it and not to get better at it. Like, I feel like the whole point and selling point of games like Overwatch, like Valorant, like League of Legends is maybe not necessarily mastery, but, you know, getting your bearings and figuring out how the game works and actually like, you know, the self-improvement of getting the game under your belt and being able to perform better on a game by game, day by day, week to week basis. That I think for most single player games, without like the outside factors of putting a speedrunning category to it or putting a Pointer Crate list to it, those things are not inherently baked in to the game's out of the box experience.
perfect micro or perfect mechanics in Rocket League would be defined as taking the ball from point A to point B as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Like how in a first-person shooter, aimbot moves the crosshair to the target as quickly and as efficiently as possible. For Rocket League, smarts cannot make
Rocket League's so impossible. Yeah, dude. I want at some point on stream to hit like a Rocket League arc because I do think that game's super cool and super aura, and it does seem like a very, just from what I've seen, very high skill ceiling game. And you guys know that I'm that form of on the spectrum where it's like that really appeals to me. I feel like I could really get into that, but when you're grinding a game to the level that I am with like Geometry Dash, you kind of just got a hard focus on one. So right now, Geometry Dash is my mistress, but I could see myself hitting Rocket League at some point down the line.
Make up for the fact that a more mechanical person can just take the ball to the open net far more than someone with less mechanics. This makes Rocket League heavily micro dominant. But after micro being the most dominant, he put macro second and meso last. This is because even if perfect meso allows you to hear enemy comms or see enemy boost, doesn't change the fact that all information.
Yeah, I feel like in Rocket League, the gameplay is happening so fast. Like, it's literally a sport, right? I mean, it's basically like football. It's all happening so fast that, yeah, if you could hear their comms and hear their game plan, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because in the next 1 to 2 seconds, the information and the formation of where every player is on the field is going to change so insurmountably that immediately that information is rendered moot.
Information in Rocket League is able to be known at
like, look, let's watch this. Look, completely different position.
Times. And for how fast-paced the game is at the highest
completely different position
level, listening
literally in less than a second
to a perfect coach verbatim would be better over hearing enemy comms or seeing enemy boost. Also, the closest thing to perfect micro in Rocket League is the AI bots. I came across footage of 3 semi-pro players versing 3 of the best Rocket League AI.
Crap, and you're dusting, bro. Oh my god.
Holy.
And the 3 AI bots were able to win comfortably.
Dude, and I can just tell that Rocket League is one of those games where, like, when you're good enough to hit, like, some nasty stuff, dude, I bet the dopamine that floods in your brain is insane, dude.
So here's what this framework actually gives you. It helps classify games,
But also, W chat, we got representation on the list. That's a W.
but it also helps understand yourself as a player. I noticed something when I looked at which games I genuinely enjoy. I gravitate
Oh, cool. He's talking about what I was talking about earlier in the video, where I feel like every person has like a different like level to each of these things. That's cool.
toward games in the middle, the full micro, meso, macro cluster, and toward pure micro and pure macro. But I don't really enjoy micro macro games. Speedrunning doesn't scratch the right itch for me. And when I looked at
Dude, I love speedrunning.
why, it mapped exactly. In Apex, I'd argue I aim pretty well and have respectable movement. I'd say I also have a solid understanding of rotations and ring positioning, but I tend to tunnel vision in close quarter fights, specifically when we're in the same building. So I tend to miss meso reads when the pressure is high. And this exactly explains the gap in my game. Because here's the real insight. Every player has a natural lean. Some
I kind of want to download. I wonder if he has that full image in the description. I would love to look at that whole thing.
people are micro players. They grind mechanics obsessively, and they want the skill gap to feel fair. Some people are meso players. They love reading people, and they thrive in the chaos of PvP randomness. Like we even see a comment
I think if you're a pure meso player, you might be a bit of a psychopath. Is that crazy? Hear me out. The reason why you like to play games is because you like reading people and like deception and also manipulation. Look, I'm not saying that it's like blanket like you're a bad person, but it might be a bit of a red flag if those are the only games you play.
cluster of people who play Among
Or the only games you like to play.
Us, GTA RP, luck-based games like gambling, along with many other party games. And then we also see that some players are macro players. They love efficiency, they draw routes on maps, they think about the game between games more than
Disguised toast, I'm looking at
during
you.
it. And most of us are a mix, but not an equal mix. The games that frustrate you the most, they're probably demanding something your brain doesn't naturally give. The games you keep coming back to, they're probably rewarding the part of you
Yeah, guys, if you're frustrated with Geometry Dash all the time, you probably should just quit. Like, you're just not built for
that
it.
already runs at full power. Genre labels never told you any of this. Action RPG doesn't tell you whether you'll be grinding execution, reading opponents, or solving systems.
Dude, I did not realize that that text, like, I was animated at first. I thought that I was, like, starting to pass out. That was crazy.
It just tells you there's a sword and a level bar. And maybe more importantly, you can stop blaming yourself when a game doesn't click. Cause maybe the games are testing things you haven't built yet.
For sure. I also think that there's an inclination that people have of, like, and maybe this is because I'm unk, but, like, if a game doesn't click with me, I do not overthink it, bro. I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to play this. Like, I'm such a more, like, vibe feel-based person. Like, I know when a game clicks and I know when it won't click, and I just kind of move on with my life and I'm on to the next one. But that probably also comes from the experience of someone who's just played over 1,000 games. So I just know myself as a gamer so intimately that, like, it doesn't take me more than like 5-10 minutes of playing a game to be like, okay, this is or isn't for me.
In my case, it's the
Because I remember when I was a kid, dude, I don't know if some of you can relate to this. When I was a kid, I would play anything. Like, I think back, and that's probably when I built up the reps. I think of how many crappy games I played as a kid, and I had that thought of like, man, I really don't like this game. Guess I'll play it for the next 100 hours. It's like, why did I do that?
underdevelopment of meso. And that's the 3 dimensions of games. Micro, meso, macro.
But eventually you just build up enough of like, I guess like an encyclopedia of what you do and don't like in games where you're just able to like pretty much immediately ascertain like, is this game worth my time or not?
Every game lives somewhere inside them. And now that you know where to look, you'll never see a game the same way again.
I'd agree with that. I think I already kind of, the most interesting part was meso. I'd heard about micro and macro before, but I'd never heard about meso. I think that really, that definitely kind of fleshed things out for me, and that was cool. No, I did like that. I think that was a great video. Chat, I think, yeah, I really like that video. I think Cernex did a great job. I'd love to see what other videos he makes in the future, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that subscribe. Yeah, that was really cool, and I think it gave us some cool stuff to talk about. Guys, if you have any other videos like this you want me to react to, be sure to Go to the description, join our Discord, go to the React to This Teach channel, drop any videos you want me to watch there. If you see other videos that other people have suggested, be sure to fire react to it so that I know that more people than just the person who shared the video want me to react to that video. That's the best way to suggest videos for what I react to on this channel. And yeah, W-React. That was really cool. I really like that. And we still talked about Geometry Dash. I know a lot of you aren't going to click on this because it's not Geometry Dash in the thumbnail and title, but we still talked about it.
After watching this video, what would your perfect game look like? For example, what would be the focus and what would you play in that game?
Geometry Dash. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one. Did you like that? Don't even pretend like you didn't. You made it that far in the video. Well, did you know that I stream Monday through Friday on Twitch and YouTube, and you could catch me live and get to be a part of the experience when it happens? Also, if you don't care about that, or otherwise you want to see more of the video that you just watched, link in the description to watch the full VOD. Do that, please. I have a black eye because I play basketball sometimes. Bye. Oh,